back, everybody. Let's take you back to the Cheyanne Harris case. This was a case out of Iowa. A mother accused of murdering her 4-month-old baby boy. Let's listen to some testimony from a first responder who saw some of what was left of the remains of this young child.
Yes.
What did you do?
So I pulled up, and I pulled right up, and I saw a man, a woman, and a little girl, and I got out my car and I went running up to them and said, "Where's the baby?" Nobody was showing any emotion, and the man goes, "Inside," and I said, "Show me." I went to check a brachial pulse on him, and his arm was stiff and rigid and cold. All of his extremities were cold. His little feet were cold. His hands were clenched in a fist, and he wasn't breathing, and his clothes were like crusty. There was blankets over the one window that was in there so that it didn't show any light.
What did the room feel like?
It was hot, it was stuffy, there was the stench of urine.
What did you do?
Well, after I did my assessment and realized that I couldn't do anything, I called back into the sheriff's department and asked for the sheriff to come and another medical examiner.
Why did you call the sheriff's department?
Because this was not right. Something was not right here.
Just so horrible to hear this first responder talking about what she discovered in this really filthy house where this little child was left in a swing. And you'll remember, medical professionals believed that the baby's diaper had not been changed in more than a week, and that there were maggots found crawling on this child. It's just so heartbreaking to hear this, but I want you to hear some more testimony, because it's now the mother who is facing trial for murdering this child. Hear from another witness who talks about what the mother said to her that day.
When you were in that room and you saw Miss Tony kneeling by the baby, what was she kneeling by that the baby was in?
A swing, a baby swing.
Can you describe where the swing was in the room?
It was up against the wall, facing the wall.
When you were in that room, how did the room feel?
Very warm. There wasn't air.
Was there air moving?
No.
How did the room smell?
Like dirty diapers.
Can you describe how strong the smell was?
Strong.
What do you mean?
Strong as in too strong for the children to be in there.
Was it obvious when you walked in the room, that smell?
Yes. She should have been crying and screaming and upset.
Did you say that she told you the baby was fine? She fed him last night at 9:30?
Correct.
And you said something in response to that?
I said, "You mean this morning at 9:30, I said a 4-month-old would have needed to be fed sooner than that."
And what did she respond to that?
Nothing.
Why did you leave?
Because I wasn't feeling too good.
Where did you go after you left?
I went in my car and went out on my route.
Did you stop?
Yes.
Why?
Because I had to throw up.
And why did you throw up?
Because it was so sad. And had I known that child was there all that time, every day I drove by, I could have done something. And that day I was just too late, and I couldn't do anything.
Just heartbreaking to hear from this mail carrier that went by the home every day delivering mail, saying that if she had known that this poor child, Sterling Keene, and there's a picture of him, if she had known that, and sorry to be so brutal, but that he was rotting to death inside that home, she would have done something. I want to bring in Joseph Scott Morgan, a forensic scientist from Jacksonville State University. You know, putting the emotion aside if you can for a moment, because obviously it's a very hard case to listen to. When we talk about how this child was when these witnesses discovered him and then when police discovered him, the baby was at a point of pretty poor neglect.
Yes. To just put a fine point on it, yeah, he was, and he had been in this debilitated state for a protracted period of time, so long, in fact, that the child had indwelling maggot development that was occurring during life, Rachel. This is something that most people think happens after death or post-mortem. In his particular case, in Sterling's particular case, he was literally existing with larval development going on inside of his dirty diaper that had not been changed for days upon days upon days.
It's just so sad. Now, I want to give our viewers here, in case they missed this case, an insight to the defense's theory. And the defense is claiming that Cheyanne Harris didn't have the necessary intent to prove murder in this case because she was suffering from postpartum depression and she abused drugs, meth. And they are basically trying to say that, therefore, she did not intend to kill her child, that she couldn't form that because of what she was dealing with, this postpartum and this drug abuse. So to dive a little bit more into this case, let's hear from the babysitter, the child's babysitter. How was Cheyanne Harris before this all happened? How did she interact with the child? Was she a good mother? Let's listen to some of the babysitter as she testifies for the jurors.
First of all, was Sterling a happy baby?
Yeah, he seemed very happy.
And why did you say that?
Oh yeah, he would smile. He didn't fuss a lot. He just seemed content.
And what observations did you make of the size of Sterling when you babysat him in the middle of July 2017?
When she handed him to me before they left, he seemed really tiny.
What do you mean?
He seemed lightweight. When she handed him to me, I kind of did one of these gestures with my arms, and he just seemed lightweight.
Did she hand Sterling to you?
Yep, she handed him right over.
Did she give you instructions as to how to properly care for Sterling and Nala?
She did. She had a notebook. She was very organized.
What do you mean?
She had a notebook where she left little notes on when Nala had Tylenol because she wasn't feeling well. There was instructions. They had different diaper wipes for sensitive skin, different diapers. She was, step by step, pretty organized.
And so was she able to explain to you which wipes you need to use for Nala and which separate wipes you need to use with Sterling?
Yes, she did.
Did she provide clothing for Nala?
Yes.
Was it appropriate clothing?
Yes.
And did she describe to you how you were to use the clothing?
Yes.
And the same for Sterling. Did she provide clothing for you to use for Sterling?
Yeah.
So Jennifer Shriver, the neighbor/babysitter, comments on how Cheyanne Harris was actually pretty organized. She kept a notebook. Does this help or hurt the defense's case that she was suffering from postpartum? Joseph?
Yeah, I think that when you take it in total, it hurts the defense in the sense that she can have all the notebooks that she wants to. She can have sensitive skin wipes and all of that sort of thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything when you look at the growth of Nala in this particular case. And she was well cared for, seemingly adjusted. And then you've got another child that's essentially in a vegetative state in a room that has no light, and he's withering away. So I don't know how far you could actually go with trying to paint her, with some kind of equilibrium in this environment. It's almost like she didn't want to take care of Sterling. And was very passive about his treatment.
Let's listen to a little bit more of Jennifer Shriver's testimony because, things did not always go so well even before this child was found dead. Let's listen.
So did you see Cheyanne Harris arrive home?
I did.
And tell me what you mean, how you saw it.
I seen her walking up the sidewalk. I could hear their car pull up. They didn't have the quietest car. So I heard them pull up and seen her walking up into their apartment.
And what time of day was that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Did you watch Sterling overnight?
Yes.
Would it have been the next day?
Yes.
After Miss Cheyanne arrived home and you saw her walking into the apartment complex, did she come directly to pick up the children?
No.
What happened?
She had texted and said that she needed a minute, if she could have a few minutes to just get herself together before coming to get the kids.
Did you agree?
I did.
What happened next?
Nala ran out of milk and she was on her last diaper, and I drew her a text telling her that it was time that she needed to come get the kids.
And did she come get the kids?
No.
Well, how long was it after she arrived at the apartment complex and she said she needed a little time? Did you reach out to her and say that she needed to come get the kids?
I don't know how much time had passed. I just knew that her baby needed milk and needed diapers, and they were starting to get fussy.
And you told her that and she didn't come right away?
No.
Well, what happened?
Me and my boyfriend, I ended up grabbing the kids' stuff and we brought them over to her.
Why did you do that?
Because Nala was fussy. She needed a diaper change. She needed milk. Things like that.
What happened when you went to the defendant's apartment?
Miss Harris came to the door and seen that I had brought the kids over to her, and she kind of and rolled her eyes like she wasn't ready to have the kids back yet.
And did you give her the kids?
Yes.
Was that the last time that you saw Sterling alive?
Yes.
There's something really suspicious the defendant, Cheyanne Harris, said to Jennifer Shriver, her babysitter/neighbor, following the death of 4-month-old Sterling Cohen. Let's listen.
You had a chance to interact with Cheyanne.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that interaction?
They were talking about funeral arrangements and some stuff like that. And at some point, she had looked at me and Zach and said, "It seems like everybody's pointing their finger at me." And I agreed with her. That's exactly what it seemed like to me. Like everybody was pointing their finger at her.
And what did she say in response to your statement?
At that time, she kind of winged her arm out over to Zach and said, "I told you we should have taken Nala, Leo, and ran."
Should have taken Nala, Leo, and ran?
Yeah.
And Leo would be the dog, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you respond to that at all?
I didn't know how to respond to that.
Wow. Okay, so following the death of her child, she's talking about how everyone's pointing the finger at her. Well, yeah. And then she says we should have run away with the dog. That is not very good evidence for the defense, Joseph.
No, it's not, Rachel. And it's a horrible set of circumstances. By this time, this child had literally begun to self-digest his body, if you will. The few little fat stores that he had consumed them, his little body just trying to survive. And here they are, living their life as normal. And this is reflected in this statement. We should have taken Nala and Leo, the dog, and left. And what becomes of Sterling at that point? Well, Sterling's a non-issue, apparently, at that point, because he wasn't part of the family anyway. They had kind of sequestered him away in this room, blacked out the windows, and would check him, only. It's really for those of us that watch this trial all the way through, one of the most striking things is, and particularly those of us that are parents, how can you walk past a door in the early days and hear him crying and not respond to it? It's just beyond the pale.
And Joseph, we know that 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 child stopped responding. You know, the medical examiner testified to the fact that probably in the beginning he was crying a lot, and then most likely as things progressed, and this little child was not given any critical care whatsoever, he just stopped responding, and he was basically in a vegetative state as he died.
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah.
Okay.
Horrible stuff.
We're sorry to interrupt you there. We have to take a quick break here on the Law and Crime Network. When we return, in Cheyanne Harris's own words, the defendant speaks to police. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. We're inside this case out of Iowa against Cheyanne Harris. She is the mother accused of murdering her child by neglect, leaving that child without a diaper change for more than a week, such that maggots ended up growing on the child before help was ever called. So the question that police had, what was Cheyanne Harris doing instead of checking on her child? Because you know newborns, they need to be checked. I mean, they can't be left alone for a second. They need to be fed every 2 hours. They need to be changed very frequently. So what in the world was Cheyanne Harris doing instead of checking on her child and taking care of her child? Listen in her own words on the day that the child was found dead.
Yeah, so don't take offense to this, but any self-medication like with marijuana, methamphetamine?
I did.
Okay.
Honestly, I did. Before I met Zach, I was really, really hard into pot.
Okay.
But when I met Zach, he opened my eyes to the fact that it was just making my depression worse.
Okay.
And then I have tried methamphetamine, but
Like how long ago was that?
really not that long ago, within the time that I've had Sterling.
Okay. Okay. Is there any meth at the house?
No,
How did you try it?
smoked it.
Give me a ballpark of the last time that you would have smoked meth.
It hasn't been in the house.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that for...
No, I mean, since we moved to...
Okay, sure, like...
So that's part of the reason we got away from my first family.
Okay, so Cheyanne Harris detailing her drug use. Joseph Scott Morgan. Let's talk a little bit about the defense here, because they're trying to say the fact that she was on meth and the fact that she was suffering from postpartum depression was such that she couldn't form the requisite intent to be convicted of murder.
Oh, so let me get this straight. Postpartum depression only applies to Sterling, because that's the message that comes through with that. That's why I think that it's kind of a thin defense.
It's a pathetic defense. I mean, honestly, it really is.
Yeah, it really is. To this point, again, they're hammering on this, and if you're talking about this in front of a jury and they're hearing meth, their opinion of her is slowly sliding downhill as if it couldn't go any further at breakneck speed. So I don't know if this was a wise choice, but in the defense of the defense, they don't have a lot to work with to begin with.
Exactly. What else do they have if she didn't want to take a plea? Okay, let's listen to some more testimony from a friend who's testifying about drug use in front of the little girl, as well as when Sterling was in the house. Take a listen.
So is it fair to say that you would arrive at the same farm at the same time, and sometime you had to wait for your turn to load the chickens?
Yes.
And was there time that you would talk to the other drivers?
Yes.
Is that how you met Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
What month do you think it was, and year that you met Mr. Cohn?
Probably April, May-ish of 2017.
April or March of 2017?
Yes.
Did you become friends with Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
How often would you run into him at work?
Usually every day.
And that's every work day?
Yes.
And was it the same places you run into him, at farms where you were both there to pick up chickens to take to the processing plant?
Correct.
When you were in that apartment, did you know there was a baby in that apartment?
No.
Did you ever see the door to that back bedroom open where not the parents' bedroom, but the other door?
Not that I can recall.
When you were at that apartment, did Miss Harris ever mention that there was a baby in that apartment?
Not that I recall 100%.
Did you ever see a baby in that apartment?
No.
Did you ever see anybody go in the back room and check on the baby?
I can't say for certain, but not that I can recall.
How upsetting is this? You know, you're hearing testimony from this guy, Jordan Clark, a friend of Cheyanne Harris, talking about how he went over to the house on multiple occasions, did meth with the mother, and not once did he ever see the mother check on that baby, and it basically sounds like he didn't even know the baby existed. Joseph?
Yeah, he that was the reason the question kind of struck me as odd. You know, he first admitted to the fact that he had not seen a baby and was not aware that a baby was in the house. And then they said, well, did you ever see her go back and check on the baby? So yeah, the baby was a non-issue for him in the house while he was engaged in illicit behavior with mom.
Well, and let's just say, too, you know, I hate to say this, but this is a microcosm of what's going on across our country.
Yes.
With the meth issue and the heroin issue. You know, we see it as these parents being so neglectful, and thank God the cases don't end up so horrible as this case has. But this is happening all of the time across America, and you're getting to hear the reality of what's happening.
Yeah, it's, you know, I talked to one of the areas that I study at Jacksonville State University. My area of research has to do with the coroner system in America, and this is a theme that you hear repeated among coroners over and over and over again, particularly as opioids are concerned, and to a lesser degree meth, but they don't even have enough room to put bodies in me. You get out in these rural areas and this sort of thing, and it's something that is quite striking to the public at large. You know, you hear about the opioid epidemic, but then you don't see all of the, you know, the tertiary and the secondary and, of course, the primary victims that are, you know, dead.
It's very, very sad, and it's very sad for this young child who lost his life, because of neglectful parents. Okay, when we return, we were going to hear more from Cheyanne Harris in her own words, what happened when she discovered that her baby boy was dead. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody, to this case, this horrible, awful case out of Iowa. Cheyanne Harris, she was on trial for murdering her 4-month-old baby boy. Investigators say she neglected the boy for more than a week. The baby's diaper had not been changed. There were maggots growing inside the baby's diaper, or were living inside the baby's diaper. How did she explain all of this to police? What was she doing that day? Take a listen to more of her police interrogation.
We'll just take our time going through this. So, sometime last night, before Zach gets home, Nala gets up, and she gets up. Where is she sleeping?
She fell asleep on the couch, well, the futon in the living room, watching a movie. I got up and changed her diaper, went to the bathroom myself. Set up in the living room to watch a movie for a little bit.
What did you feed her? Do you remember?
Cold juice.
That's okay.
And vanilla wafers.
Okay.
Because I figured then it'd be a mix of breakfast and lunch.
Did you get her set up in the living room?
And then I went and laid down with Zach for a little bit. And then started thinking, it'd been a while since I heard from Sterling.
She commented, "It had been a while since I heard from Sterling." She got up and she found him, finally realizing what had happened here and that her 4-month-old baby boy had been neglected and was now dead. Let's listen to another short clip of what Cheyanne Harris told police about why she didn't check on this child at all.
Is it unusual to go that long without checking?
But I was so caught up in dealing with it all, and he always lets me know when he needs something, so I didn't think anything of it.
Sure. Did you hear any crying at 6, around 6-ish in the morning, after breakfast?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, it kind of walked you through the day. I mean, is there any chance that you went in there this morning after breakfast?
I got up to pee once.
Okay.
But other than that, I didn't get up till Mom got up.
Is the bathroom by the bedroom? Okay. Did you look in?
No, I didn't.
Okay, here's the indication to me that Cheyanne Harris is just completely lying, BSing to investigators. She says, the investigator asks, why did you go so long without checking on Sterling? And she says, he usually lets me know when he needs something. Let's talk about reality here, Joseph Scott Morgan. If this child had been in the state he was in, and had not had his diaper changed for a week, based on how the body was found, could it even have been possible on the morning he was found dead for the baby to have cried to signify he wanted milk or was hungry?
No. He's so depleted by this point in time. You'd mentioned the word vegetative earlier. We're so far down the tracks here biologically that the only thing that could have saved him is to immediately have taken him in for intensive care in a hospital, in a NICU, if you will, and it would have taken weeks to restore this kid back. I can tell you the child, and when she's saying hear him or letting her know, this kid had been nonverbal for a while. And
yet she's telling investigators, oh, well, I didn't hear him cry, so that's why I didn't go check on him. That is just a lie. Okay, yes. Joseph Scott Morgan, as always, we love your insight here on the Law and Crime Network. Thanks so much for joining us. We have got to wrap this segment up. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back in a few minutes.